Agreed to, and I call the Treasurer.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker. The Victorian people have been magnificent. The Victorian people have seen their dedication and their commitment to adhering to the rules to see the number of daily cases reduced to 0 yesterday and today, and it is their victory and no one else's victory, Mr Speaker. The Victorian people have suffered so much. The pain, the cost, the loss of Victorian people. It should have never, ever have come to this. And with the greatest respect to those opposite, the comparison is not with the United Kingdom. The comparison is not with the United States. The comparison is with New South Wales, Queensland, Tasmania and South Australia, Mr Speaker. My children are like the children of everyone else from Victoria in this place. 6 months lost from schooling, Mr Speaker. 6 months that they will never ever get back. The children of Northern Territory lost 1 week in school. The children of South Australia lost just 2 weeks at school. The children of Victoria lost more than 6 months, Mr Speaker. And those in Year 12 will never, ever get that opportunity back, Mr Speaker. And the more than 800 Victorians who have lost their lives, their families will never get those ones back, Mr Speaker. And it all comes back to the failures in hotel quarantine, for which we still do not have any answers, Mr Speaker, for which we still do not have any answers. And the honourable member is right. The honourable member is right. There is an inquiry, Mr Speaker. But unless that inquiry asks everybody who has questions to answer to provide evidence, we won't get the answers and the Victorian people will be left in the dark, Mr Speaker. The fact of the matter is our state. I'm from Victoria and I'm for Victoria, Mr Speaker. The fact of the matter is the member for Wannon is from Victoria and he's for Victoria, Mr Speaker. And the member for Flinders is from Victoria and he's for Victoria, Mr Speaker. And this Prime Minister has stood by Victorians every step of the way. More than $200 million per day going from this government to the people of Victoria. JobKeeper, JobSeeker, the cash flow boost,
Member for Rankin.
$750 payments has been going into the pockets of Victorians and Victorian businesses, Mr Speaker. That's been going to support them through this crisis. So, Mr Speaker, my thanks today is for the people of Victoria, because we know this lockdown has not come without a cost. A 31% increase in those Medicare subsidised mental health visits in Victoria. A 77% increase on people going to Headspace in Victoria compared to those other states. Lifeline, Mr Speaker, Kids Helpline. I got a text message from a friend of mine the other day who said that a friend of his had taken his own life because he'd lost his job in Victoria, Mr Speaker. In the same message he said that
Members
friends of
on my left
had started to self-harm. Now, Mr Speaker, these aren't unique cases. This is across the state. This is the price that has been paid during this lockdown. And, Mr Speaker, I have spoken up as the Treasurer of Australia and as a proud Victorian. And the facts are that Victoria makes up 26% of the national population, but today 40% of those effectively unemployed across our country. Now, Mr Speaker, every day of the lockdown, on average, 1,200 jobs have been lost. In the same period, every day of that lockdown across the rest of the country, 2,000 jobs have been created. So, Mr Speaker, so what is the question for the interjection, Mr Speaker? An interjection from someone from another state outside Victoria. Well, I tell you what, the small businesses of Australia, their owners, their employees, they don't say so what. They say they have paid a very, very heavy price. And the Leader of the Opposition said in his statement that the decision that was taken not to open up on Sunday, well, the businesses of Australia spoke very loudly about their disappointment, Mr Speaker. And we, as a government, spoke very loudly, Mr Speaker. So, Mr Speaker, my thought today in supporting this motion is with those Victorians who were kept in their homes 23 hours a day. My thoughts today are with those Victorians who weren't able to move more than 5 kilometres from their home, Mr Speaker. My thought today is with those Victorians who weren't allowed out at night because of a curfew that we didn't see in other parts of this country, Mr Speaker. My thoughts are today with those Victorians. Those Victorians have been fined $10,000 for opening their business and trying to put food on their table, Mr Speaker, and keep their staff employed, Mr Speaker. My thoughts today are with those families of those people who have suffered with mental health concerns as a result of the lockdown. Mr Speaker, I am so happy to join with all those in this place in celebrating the fact that the numbers have come down, but don't pretend there hasn't been a price. And the price has been immense. And the cost couldn't have been higher for more than 6 million Victorians, Mr Speaker. So today, we give thanks for those numbers coming down. We give thanks to those Victorians who have paid the ultimate price, Mr Speaker, and to their families. And we say thanks to those health workers who have been working so hard together with our Defence Force personnel who have been working with the Victorian government. We, on this side of the House, have stood with Victorians since the start of this crisis. We have stood with Victorians through this crisis, and we will stand with Victorians to the end of this crisis.
The question is